piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What up, film fans? Happy Tuesday, moviegoers. Welcome to episode 306. Welcome to The Crow. You're listening to a new episode of the Cine-Men movie podcast. I am one of your hosts, Juan, and I'm joined by the cast, crew, the fellas, Jay.
Hey, how's it going?
Ed.
What's up, folks?
What's up, guys? You have a good week?
Not too bad, not too bad.
So far, so good.
Good, man. Good. It's been a busy week here at the YouTube channel. If you guys are watching us on Facebook Live and Imisawa Productions YouTube channel, man, what a Tuesday! Talking the 30th anniversary of The Crow. Busy week. Some other episodes going on that we will get to in announcements a little bit later on. But yeah, good week for everybody. Hopefully, weather looks like
I know it's a good week for
cool
you,
down.
though. You got that new college football game to play.
Man, you know what? I have lost some sleep already. But it's it's all right. I can sleep on the weekend. So, but yeah, a lot of stuff to get into. New movies, anniversaries. We got some wrestling going on this week. Twisters comes out this week, which we'll talk about next Tuesday. So it's a full fun-packed weekend and week here at the YouTube channel. Like Jay mentioned, if you guys did not join us yesterday, we did have a little conversation about the new college football 25. So hit us up on the YouTube channel and wherever you listen to podcasts at and listen to that conversation. Today, though, we're talking The Crow. We're also going to go over some recent watches and recommendations, and we have a top 5 that we'll get into a little bit later on today. But if you were not with us last week we talked all about Maxine, the newest movie in the A24 library. So go check out that conversation. Me and Ed had a fun conversation. We dove deep into Maxine, and yeah, pretty good conversation. All the links to our past episodes and archives are in the social media links. Ed, what are the social media links and how can they get to those links?
Pretty easy on that, man. You go ahead and go to facebook.com/the Cine-Men movie podcast. That is THECINEMEN movie podcast. Instagram is at /the Cine-Men movie podcast. The X is also at Cine-Men405. Now the email is at cinemen921@gmail.com. That is CINEMEN921@gmail.com. Go ahead and leave us something there. Go ahead and leave us your favorite movie that we've done so far. Leave us your favorite movie in general. Leave us something that you thought was amazing that we should go ahead and talk about and or have an episode over. It's happened before. It can happen again. So leave us something.
All right, guys, like you said, all the links to the last episode are right there. Let's dig into some recent watches. It's been a minute since we've all three kind of just hung out and talked about what we've watched or recommended. Jay, you want to start?
Yeah, I was sitting there. I figured I'd be selected first. So I was sitting there going over my brain what all I watched since the last time I was on. I'm not going to go down that far of a list, but I have been watching movies. I've been watching a lot of TV shows until Netflix went away. I was watching The Carners. Which is the spinoff show for Roseanne. They had 5 seasons on Netflix, so I ended up watching some of them. I made it to season 5, actually, like season 5, episode 1 or 2, until the account went dead for a minute, and then after that, I switched over to. Oh, I ain't worried about that. I was just letting you know that's how far I made it before the account went down, because it was like right during an episode I was watching, like episode 2 of season 5. And it was like, we're sorry, you cannot watch. I was like, what the fuck? So after that, I went to HBO Max, started watching the Harley Quinn show for the umpteenth number of time, and finally made it through the entire thing this time. You know, I've seen season 1 and 2 quite a few times, and so I finally went back through and watched season 1 and 2. If you haven't seen the Harley Quinn show, one of DC's best shows that they've ever done, animated or anything. It hangs up there with the Batman the Animated TV show. That's how like deep cut they get into these things. Like
What?
some of the character, like seriously, like they have Calendar Man. You know, he's a main villain. Fucking Dr. Psycho. You don't even know who the fuck Dr. Psycho is. Probably that's how deep they go into the fucking well. And Batman's all through the show, but it's very hard R though.
Really Kuko?
Yes, it's very hard R. Like seriously, Joker rips somebody's face off in the first 5 minutes of the show. So they say fuck a lot.
Oh wow.
It's
So
really good. And then after that, I finished that up, and then I started watching South Park. I was still in that vulgar TV show kind of mood, and I started at season 10 since I've seen the first 10 seasons a dozen times. You know, I was like, all right, we'll go into season 10 and see what they have all the way up in the later 20 seasons and shit. So,
dude, I will say
that's where I'm at South Park.
With South Park last year, my wife and I, for some reason, we watched all kinds of series and all that. South Park, we watched the entirety, like everything caught up to this day. She wasn't really a big South Park fan. She's all right. She'll watch it definitely now. But now she's seen all of it. I've seen every episode for sure. I found it starting to get a little hard to watch probably around the 17th season. Like, whenever the political correctness really stepped up, and it was
PC
just like,
principle and all that.
Exactly.
I know why that. I know why they did that, because they basically sat there and said the real world is too fucking crazy right now, so we don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
Like, you got Donald Trump as president, you got this going on, you got all this shit going on. It's real life is more funny than what we could ever come up with. So that's why.
Yeah.
But the last episode I watched was the one where they introduced the Coon and Mysterio.
Hell yeah.
Johnny's just like, I have no idea.
Last year, I think I went through the first 7 or 8 seasons. I went through quite a bit last year, but I kind of stopped and just haven't got back on the bandwagon.
I think I'm on season 13, episode 2.
Ed, anything else you got to? Have you checked anything out?
I have. I've checked a few things out for that matter. They'll be on the lit. No, I'm just kidding. Well, with some of them they might be, some of them they might not. So we'll see about that soon. I got to see Abigail, so that was nice.
That was excellent.
Right. Ghostbusters: The Frozen Empire. Watch that.
Excellent.
Dune Part 2. Watch that as well. Then I basically, waiting till my turn to get that old NCAA 25. You know, we'll see about that. Other than that, work and some home life stuff. So, yeah.
I'll go through mine real quick. Checked out The Crow for today's episode. I also checked out Abigail as well. Rewatched Civil War. I went through the entire RoboCop trilogy, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to watch the reboot sometime soon this week. Checked out Scream 6 for an episode of Friday the 14th podcast, which you can listen to now. Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, which was phenomenal. And Love, Lies, and Bleeding, another A24 film. And then, like I said, Maxine. Go check out Maxine in theaters.
See, I was wanting to check out Axel Foley, or A Foley, whatever the hell, but it's Beverly Hills Cop 4 to me.
Yeah.
You know, just because. And speaking of RoboCop, I've never seen RoboCop 3.
You're not missing much. Peter Weller's not in it.
Yeah, it was the guy that played the main character in that movie, Stephen King movie called Thinner. Have you guys ever heard of that one?
Yep.
That's the lead. That's the guy that plays RoboCop in the third one.
RoboCop 3 is not bad. He's pretty much, they're trying to get people out of Detroit because, they're finally trying to make old Detroit non-existent. and a bunch of the homeless people that are like living in the streets adopt RoboCop because OCP kind of like kicks RoboCop out and pretty much debugs him and tries to erase his memory. So, and then of course, I don't know if you know that Nancy Allen dies in it.
I see. No, I just know it's PG-13 and it had to do with homeless people, and
Yeah.
I was like, I seen him because I grew up in the era that these were coming out in theaters and when I seen the trailer, even as a young kid, and I seen him fly across the screen with that jetpack on, I just started laughing. I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
Even it came out like what 93.
Yeah, 93, 94.
Yeah, and I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
But dude, I enjoyed the rewatch of RoboCop 2, and I don't know why
Two is really good.
so many people shit on it online though, and I'm like, dude, I loved it. I thought
I think it has to do with the special effects.
Oh, I thought Kane was a pretty good villain.
Because if you sit there and watch a lot of those special effects in part 2 were pretty outdated, bro. They are really rough.
They are rough.
As far as I can remember. It's been a minute since I've seen RoboCop 2, but one of my favorite parts when the baseball team were Boy Scouts, they're robbing that store.
Oh yeah, and they're
because that was the teaser trailer for RoboCop 2. Like they would show. I remember seeing RoboCop 2 at the drive-in with your dad, my mom, your mom, and everything like that. We seen RoboCop 2 at the drive-in at the Riviera right there on 59th, and they showed that and Navy SEALs.
I don't know. Oof, I don't know if August or September, but we've been trying to do RoboCop since episode 1, literally, and I think RoboCop is legit going to be an episode in August or September. To this day,
that'd be cool.
To this day, and we'll talk about it in the episode, the scene where Alex Murphy dies and Red from that 70s show shoots him in the head, that scene still gets me to this day. Like, I feel like I'm legit watching somebody really get murdered.
What cut of the movie did you see though? On the first one, did you see are you just seeing the theatrical version, or are you seeing the director's cut? Because the director's cut's fucking crazy.
I think it has the director's cut. Name a few scenes that might be different.
Because they're in the scene whenever, remember when Ed 209 shoots that dude? The scene lasts for like 30 seconds of Ed 209 just shooting the shit out of this dude. It's just like, boom, 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 boom,
oh, yeah,
for like 30 seconds long.
Yeah.
And blood's just spraying everywhere.
Yeah.
So you may have seen the director's cut by now.
I think it is the director's cut that I have in that little trilogy pack.
Because they show more of the gunfire whenever Murphy's getting killed. They show more of the gunshot wounds and shit, and more graphically.
His limbs fall off, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not.
I think that's what the one I have. But anyway, that's definitely going to be a fun conversation.
See, it's already so spicy. We're getting into it.
Here we go, man. But yeah, that's been my recent watches. Oh, Ed.
There was one more that I did kind of forget about that I haven't forgotten about, truthfully.
Nope, your turn's over. No.
Damn it.
That's with you.
So I told everybody on the last podcast that I'd go ahead and start rewatching The Fast and the Furious over again. I have still kept that, and I have only gotten to 4 so far, but, still going in. 4, still like 4. 4 was...
What was the turning point?
Yes, it is. I kind of started to see that when they get into the world of Braga and his guys and all that other shit. I'm starting to remember that because 5 is the last one I truly was like really good with, other than 7. I don't remember 6 that much, to be honest. I don't remember 6 that much, so I'm going to have to keep it going and kind of figure out where it kind of stopped for me.
When I got the 9, I seen 9. I remember everything leading up to 9 and everything, but then I started watching 10, and I just, or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and I just legit sat there, was like, I'm bored. I'm legit bored watching this. Even though Jason Momoa is chewing up the scenery like it's nothing, I'm just like, I'm bored. So that's something we'll have to review sometime later on too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Those are always some fun films. Let's get in. It's been a few weeks since we've had a top 5, but we're halfway through the year. The year is just flying by. So what better way to get to a new top 5 than to talk our top 5 movies of 2024 so far? right, guys, let's dig into it. It is the top 5 movies, our favorite top 5 movies of 2024 so far. Um, Jay, you're kind of just going to join the
One.
conversation.
Yeah, I didn't
And,
do the homework because I don't keep track of my favorite movies of the year, evidently.
Well, man,
I'm bad.
you got 6 months until we hit the official best of 2024. So we got plenty
I'll
of
be ready for that. So what is it, a 5 or 10 count on that one?
every March we do the top 10. Yeah.
Top 10. All right, I got you. I
I
think I can handle that.
have a few honorable mentions that I'll just rapid fire through real quick. One Love, Bob Marley movie, and then my official honorable mention is going to be Arthur the King with Mark Wahlberg,
The dog movie.
the dog movie.
So I obviously don't have any honorable mentions. Can I mention the dog shit movie though?
Sure.
Which one was that?
Night Swim. Fuck that movie.
Oh, well, I remember talking to you about that piece of shit.
Yeah, that's pretty
Fuck
terrible.
that movie. Still on
number-
that bullshit.
Number 5, Ed, let's start with you.
Number 5, dude. Okay, so
Fuck, Crow.
The
You
top-
play college football, NCAA.
so
They heard
these
you.
these 5 are all
Spoiler alert, It's
good.
great.
I'm sorry, guys.
It's great.
All 5 of these movies are good in my opinion. Like I would recommend any of the 5 to anybody. The 3 are kind of the harder ones to really put in a specific. But after that, I started to kind of fill out what was the biggest difference for me, and even kind of some conversations that we've had about possible movies that are in this. I've gone from there. Anyways, I am going to go with number 5, Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. Great, man, great transition throughout the whole movie. Makes you feel for them. Makes you understand new characters. One is kind of annoying, but it's understood why. Brings back some old characters as well, so it keeps that lineage going. So and in a good way. I personally don't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, I would definitely recommend and brings back some old favorites from prior movies, ghosts and stuff like that. So.
See, I'll agree with you there on number 5. I don't have a top 5, but if I've seen the movie, I'll comment if that's all right.
Yeah, of
But
course.
Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. The only thing I found kind of wanting was the design of the creature. He just looked too jagged. I get it, he was supposed to be an ice god or demon or something shit like that, but he just looked too CGI in my book.
Did you know that the guy who played him was actually 7'1"?
Well, that's cool to know. I need to watch the special features and I need to shut my mouth and be like,
No.
I have yet to check it out. So I'll check it out soon.
I found out about it later that same day that I watched it, and I thought that was something cool to know about it. So I was just like, hey,
that is something cool. I just think the special effects side of it, the creature doesn't hold up. That's my biggest complaint about the entire movie, when your main villain doesn't hold up. I didn't mind the whole subplot about the guy and his grandmother being an old. I thought that was pretty cool. I just didn't like the actor playing him. I just don't find him funny. You guys might.
Camille Nanjiani.
Yes. I didn't want to butcher his name, so I just let one of you guys bet. So, but no, I just don't get his brand of comedy. It's like he's trying too hard. But the rest of the movie, I dug. I've seen it 3 times right now, if that tells you anything.
Oh, okay. 3 to my none. I'll have to catch up. It's definitely on my watch list, though. I'm excited. I have it in there. Number 5 for me is going to be Love, Lies, and Bleeding. It's one of the few movies this year. There's only been 2 of them, and I'm ending it with this one, or I'm starting it with this one. It's only one of 2 movies this year that as soon as it was over, I wanted to just push play again and watch it again. It's completely just captivating. It's almost like a Thelma and Louise, let's get away with this murder kind of thing. The performances are great. At sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know if I should be watching this. It's literally about sex, love, and steroids, and then throw a little bit of murder in there, and this is what you get. And I recommend it. I don't want to get into much with it without spoiling it, but it's definitely a hard hitting movie, and it starts my number five. So, Love Lies Bleeding. Go check it out. Number
Oh, I
five.
thought you were talking about Ricky Stanicki. No, I'm just kidding.
I
That's
don't
a
know who
good
that
one. I'm
is.
sorry. You know, that's John Cena, bro.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the Amazon movie that John Cena and Zac Efron did.
well, that's funny.
Really, it's
That
actually
he-
really funny.
That he's like a big time drug dealer.
Ed, what do you got at number four?
All kinds of other shit. Number 4, I'm gonna go ahead and put. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put Maxine here. Like this movie quite a bit. We talked about it last week, for that matter. That's the only reason I'm putting it at
There you
number
go.
4. It's just still newer. I've only seen it once, so there is that. Kind of the same thing with Ghostbusters. But yeah, no, that I would recommend probably trying to go see X. But like I think we said in the last episode, this could be a standalone on its own, but you would have a little bit better of an inkling if you had at least X in your pocket.
Yep.
With possibility of Pearl. So, yeah.
Number four for me, it's another episode we did, so I won't spend too much time on it, but it's Dune Part 2.
I thought the movie was
Fun,
pretty cool.
Yeah, fun movie. Visual effects were amazing. Man, it's again one of the better movies of the year. I don't know why this one probably should have been 5 for me, because I don't have the get to hurry up and rewatch it because of how lengthy it is. But I still think because of the masterpiece and how well it was put together, that's why it's one step above my past, one step above the 5th one. So 4 for me is Dune Part 2. Go check it out. We did a whole episode on it a few weeks ago.
Can I throw out a title just to throw one out?
Yeah,
I have a couple of my wheelhouse. That's all I'll say. I don't remember a lot. This came out in 2024. I have seen Abigail. That was a great one. But another one on my list is Mad Max for Furiosa. If I could get it out, I thought it had the same vibe as Fury Road. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it or not, or if it even made your top 5.
Furiosa, no.
It is very good, very, very good. The first 20 minutes is one big chase where Furiosa's mother's trying to get they kidnap their daughter and shit like that, which is Furiosa, and it's 20 minutes of them just trying to get her back.
Nice.
So it's a pretty bad, and you know how this visual effects and how the look of the Fury Road look. Same thing here. We're basically in the same location, so it has that same feel, the desert, you know. Anna Taylor-Joy, is that her name?
Yep.
Anya Taylor-Joy, yep.
She does great as Furiosa, and like it was pretty badass. I'll just say that.
I'm excited to see it. I can't wait.
Same.
Well, it just came out on Vudu to rent, so
which means it should hit Blu-ray like in the next 3 weeks, so that'll be fun. Also, that'll probably be a movie we'll talk about in September. So.
That sounds good to me.
But yeah, that's who's next? Ed, you got number 3?
Yes. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good.
We love it. Number 3, I'm gonna go ahead and put. Like I said, any of these 3 can be switched. My number 1 is kind of strong, but it's not too much stronger than the other 2. Yeah, Dune Part 2, man. Length would be the only thing that's cryable. I think the story, even so, the story was good. The story was honestly fantastic. Whoever did Dune 1984 needs to be put in the trash bag, and whoever did Dune New needs to go ahead and be like
Whoa,
A
whoa,
signed
chill
gold.
out. David Lynch has got some fantastic fucking movies.
Yeah, but
That was
the
not it.
84 version is not one of them. I haven't even seen it, but I've heard plenty about that one.
Bro,
The big thing about the rewatch value of Dune Part 2 and Dune Part 1 is that the story is so fucking dense that every scene that's on screen, there's like 1,000 different things that you're supposed to pick up on, and there's so much lore. It's like watching the Lord of the Rings and not having read the book, because the Lord of the Rings is dense, and so is this. And I've never read the book, so I was constantly having to rewind back, rewatch certain scenes whenever I don't know if you guys had to do that, but I did, just to, so because it was sometimes actions happen so fast, things just went too fast that I had to go back and rewatch. That's not necessarily a bad thing at all.
I've read the books, so
okay, we'll see. Yeah, so you had an insight that we didn't.
Just a bit. Zach, on the other hand, that mug has seen everything. He wasn't even born when the cartoon came out, but he's still seen it when it came out.
I know, wasn't it like Jordan something that done the original version of this?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, Dune 84 was not good, man.
Did you see that they have a series on HBO Max? Dune. It's a series. It's some. I'm not sure what the subtitle is called, but it's Dune.
I have not. Huh.
Yeah, they have something on HBO Max right now that just came out a couple days ago. So there we go. I'm sorry for keep talking. I'm a little drunk, everybody.
No, you're good, man. Yeah.
I got a motor mouth.
Dune Part 2 is 3 for you, Ed?
Yes, sir.
Number 3 for me. We talked about last week, so I won't spend too much time on it. Number 3 for me is Maxine. That's how good it is for me. So yeah, go back and listen to it if you want full thoughts. It's number 3 for me. Number 2, Ed?
Number 2 for me is Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. I love this. I love these movies, man. The legendary Godzilla is holds a special place for me so far. It's going to be hard for him to mess that up.
We talked about that a few weeks ago.
Exactly. That and Godzilla -1 not too long before that. So there is that. Yeah, man, those two, I recommend both of them, but at the same time, like, yeah, Godzilla X Kong, I thought was fun, and yeah.
See, I can dig a list like yours, Ed. One that's like, because I'm the type of person that will choose movies that it might be mainstream or this or that, but those are the movies that I enjoy. I might go watching, the latest, melodrama that people get off on, but I'm not one of those guys that watches the small movies anymore. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know I'm an ass. But I found that Dune thing. It's not out yet. It's just a trailer right now, and it's called Dune Prophecy. It says, here's the synopsis of it. Set 10,000 years before the birth of Paul, Dune Prophecy traces the origins of the fabled sect that will become known as the Bene Gesserit. That's what it says.
Fair enough.
And they only have a trailer on HBO Max right now. It hadn't came out yet.
Nice.
Heck yeah. All's yeah.
Number 2 for me is actually going to be a episode of Friday the 14th podcast next week. My pick, number 2, is Abigail.
There you go.
Recently watched that. Phenomenal, fun, bloody, gory, hell of a good time. I'll leave more thoughts for that next week. But number 2 for me is Abigail. So, Ed,
I have seen that as well, and I thought it was a great movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
it was. I seen it when I seen it on a cam quality copy, and back when it was in theaters, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is really, really good."
Yeah.
So
super entertaining.
I have a one more movie to talk about, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. That's cool.
Yeah. Ed, number 1, favorite movie of the year.
So far, my favorite movie of this year is Abigail. horror done correctly, horror done classily, horror done right. It sucks that one of the actors has since passed away.
Two of them have.
Oh, for real? Well, who was the other one?
Who are you talking about?
The one who played Dean. Cloud.
Oh, Angus Cloud.
Angus Cloud. Oh, dang. Okay.
Carlo, the guy who plays who was in Maxine.
Oh,
he was in it as well.
I forgot. Man, that glossed over on me. I forgot all about that. Dang. Okay. Giancarlo Esposito. Yeah. So two big losses for that matter. No, man. Did Vampires right? I thought it did a good horror trope that isn't all that much seen, I guess, because I don't remember someone being kidnapped and basically being the one who is the
It's a nice twist
villain.
on those tropes. That's what I'm saying. It's a nice twist on those tropes that the kidnapped person is actually the person that you should fear the most.
Yeah.
The little girl is creepy as fuck.
Dude, but like most of the movie, 100% agree. The last part of it, like the last 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, like I see where they're going with this. That is awesome. And dude, because this has a few twists and turns to it. It's not your straight up NASCAR track, man. It is it's going all out. Like I said, this is my favorite movie so far this year. Abigail, I just feel done right by a lot of different standards. So yeah, and it was kind of fresh. It felt different. It felt new. They even name dropped Nosferatu. You had all kinds of tropes and all that, the movie tropes, if you will. But as far as characters go, but even then, the only thing that I didn't like was just how, and I hate to say it because just talked about the guy, but how drugged up Angus seemed. That would be the only part that I'd go ahead, but that was part of the character as well. So, playing what he needed to play.
Yep.
But that would be the only nitpick or the only cry moment of mine. So other than that, yeah, I thought it was great.
Number one for me, seen it a handful of times. We'll talk about it a little bit later in the year. Is Civil War. Thought it was a fun, fantastic movie. I had a fun time with it. So
okay,
that was another movie I was going to sit there and I was going to be like, well, Juan's told me he's seen it a few times right now. Me and him are actually we want to discuss this, but we're also trying to find out answers because of this movie. We're trying to find out what caused the Civil War. They don't say. Yeah. They just say that Texas and California succeeded. What's the rest of the story? What the fuck happened? What caused everything? But that leaves it open for sequels and prequels
and a fun series.
And a fun discussion, of course.
Yeah.
That was going to be one of my, I guess, since you guys keep naming shit off, I'm like, oh, that's actually a great one. I should put that on my list. So I put that at number 2 on my list. But the number 1 for me, Inside Out 2. That movie, that movie was fucking crazy. As far as how well it got your emotions down. Recommend.
I still need to go see that. So yeah, Civil War, Jam in the middle of that documentary. We'll talk about it. That's actually going to be the first episode in August 5th or August 6th on a Tuesday. We'll talk all about Civil War in August. So, but yeah, that's our top 5. If you guys want to join the discussion too, hit us up, send us some links, send us some emails, comments. Let us know your top 5 movies of 2021 so far. But 2024, man. See, I'm still in the past, man. I'm still in the past. But let's dig into the meat and potatoes. This is why we're here. Let's talk about The Crow. IMDb has it at a 7.5. Rotten Tomatoes is at 86%. The Metascore is at 72%. Letterboxd is at a 3.7. With the release of May 13th, 1994, the budget was $23 million and it grossed a little over $94 million at the box office. Starring Brandon Lee, Michael Wincott, Rochelle Davis, Ernie Hudson, Bai Ling, Sophia Sheenus, Anna Thompson, Tony Todd is in there, and directed by Alex Proyas. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't want to butcher
Oh
it.
yes.
The night before his wedding, musician Eric Draven and his fiancee are brutally murdered by members of a violent gang. On the anniversary of their death, Eric rises from the grave and assumes the mantle of the Crow, a supernatural avenger. This once was a bonus episode in October / November really 2018. Me and Ed had a little discussion about it way back when. But now let's dedicate a whole episode to it. Jay, we'll start with you. Do you remember the first time you seen The Crow, and what was it like revisiting it for the podcast?
Okay. This has been a big. I based my life around this movie. You know, my entire it came out when I was 12 years old, so it had a very, very big impact on me because of the whole gothic overtones of the movie.
Oh yeah.
So that's the first thing. When I first seen the trailer in '94, I was like, "Holy shit, this looks badass!" And I was a big fan of Brandon Lee because I had seen Rapid Fire in theaters, and I was like, "Hell yeah, that movie was badass. I'll go see him in anything. You know, he's pretty cool." So I put that on the list to go see. So that Friday night when it came out, I went and seen the new Three Ninjas movie. I was a big Three Ninjas fan back in the day. And then I went and seen The Crow right afterwards, and The Crow blew me away, man. It blew me away. Like I said, I was 12 years old. Remember when you're 12 years old, you're very impressionable, and when you have something that's a milestone in your life, you'll remember that for a long time. And The Crow was one of those milestones. Hell, I even went as a crow for Halloween that year. So if that tells you anything,
wow.
So, and I even showed it to my 16-year-old. Well, at the time she was only 12 or 13 when I showed it to her, and I showed it to my daughter and I showed it to my nephew on the big. I had a 150-inch screen to show it on, so I showed it on there, and they were pissed off kind of because I was like, "You're gonna watch The Crow? It's a comic book movie," and they were like, "Comic book movie? Son of a bitch!" You know, they were kind of like they were not cool with wanting to sit down and watch it, but the movie was over. My daughter and nephew, they were like, "Dude, that was badass. You know, that was cool." And a few months go by, and my daughter's visiting me, and the people that I live with, they have daughters of their own, and they're all discussing what to watch that night. And they were like, my daughter was like, "How about this? How about we watch The Crow?" And I heard her from the living room, and they sat there, started watching. I went in there and just looked at my kid and was like, "Yep, yeah." You know, it made me feel good as a father that my child, you know, picked up something great from me. At least one thing that was good. She recommended The Crow to all these girls.
Man,
sorry for going so long.
No, you're good, man. Yeah, so you got to see this in theaters opening night.
Yes.
That's pretty badass.
At the Almani 6.
Wow, that's right down the street from me. Wow. Or it was.
It was, yes.
I think, you know what, Jay? Also, I think you're the reason I watched this for the first time way back when, either on a DVD or on, I think, maybe a recorded VHS tape. Didn't really understand it. I think I was probably only 8 or 9, maybe 10. And then I rewatched it when I bought the DVD double pack when I was working at FYE. And then it's just been one of those movies that I won't go, and this is weird because I went out and looked for this hard to find steelbook, but like I won't go out of my way to watch The Crow. But when I do sit down and watch it, I'm like, I think I understand. I understand why there's the lore, the conversation, and we'll dig into a little bit later on. Ed, do you remember the first time you watched it, and what was it like revisiting it for the podcast?
Funny enough, I'm not 100% sure when the first time I watched it, The first time I remember watching it was around 2001, 2002, somewhere in that area. And that was
That should
in
put
the
you about
air,
11 or 12, right?
roughly 10 or 11, yeah. That area right there kind of symbolizes my time of finding music a lot that was mine. And stuff like this I gravitated to.
Oh, this soundtrack was amazing, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Stuff like this is, Linkin Park, stuff like that. I know this is well before Linkin Park, so there's that. But stuff like that was what I really grew into.
We had Stone Temple Pilots' song that was the hugest song on the album. Was there? I'm not sure what it's called right now. If somebody has a better internet than I do to look it up, but that was a great song.
This whole score and soundtrack with this movie was like just
The score is great too.
yeah.
Stone Temple Pilots, The Cure, Nine Inch Nails, Rage Against the Machine.
That's a who's who of That's a who's who of mid '90s rock and grunge and.
So
yep.
Let's dig into it. We're 40 minutes into the episode, 41 minutes. If you guys have not seen The Crow, where have you been? What rock have you been laying under? It's 30 years old. Go check it out. I believe it's on Paramount Plus. The brand new 4K just got released a few months ago, so go find that. Go check it out. Let's dig into it. Jay, by the time you went and saw The Crow in 1994, Brandon Lee was already dead, right?
Yes.
So,
and his story is very prominent because they had one of the premium cable channels had a making of documentary on it, and they talked about certain scenes that were in it. It might actually be a special feature now on the Blu-ray or the 4K, but it showed certain scenes that they had to reproduce Brandon Lee, so they would take shots that he had filmed before, and like the scene I remember the most was like they needed more shots of him looking cold and walking around alleys and shit like that. So they took a shot where he was shivering and he was holding his arms in front of his chest like he's cold. And what they did was that they took that scene there and then they added to another scene, recolored it, and just put a different background on the back of it. That's when they were starting to use Photoshop. And they put another background over that and added rain effects, and biggity bam, you got a new shot. So that's what I remember the most about that making of special, is that they talked about Brandon Lee's passing and the scene. It wasn't even a scene they were filming. It was a scene they were rehearsing. And the actor that plays Fun Boy shot him in real life, bro.
insane.
Shot him in the chest. That's what happened. They were rehearsing that scene where the Crow character goes in that guy's bedroom and
yeah,
they just got through shooting up heroin or whatever the hell they just got through shooting up. That's the scene that they were rehearsing.
So
Which
let's get this. Let's bring in a conversation about this, because obviously that's unfortunate. Is a lot of people remember the passing of Brandon Lee more than The Crow itself. This is a movie that honestly, it made its budget back. Yeah, it wasn't a huge grossing film of the '90s, but like
For the '90s, that's a huge make, bro. I'm serious.
right. But like it's one of those movies that still to this day is more like
It's a cult.
It's a cult film, and still more people remember the passing of Brandon Lee than for some reason. But anyway, what's the difference? And I know some of you guys probably understand this more than I do, but I just want to ask the difference. What's the difference between the accidental death of Brandon Lee and then what happened with Alec Baldwin last year? Alec Baldwin was on trial and was facing murder charges.
Yeah, now it just got dismissed.
Yeah.
Well,
Just dismissed.
the person, from what I recall, when it happened at the time, the prop manager or the special effects, the guy that was in charge of the special effects was in trouble. He's the one that got in trouble because it was his job and his crew's job to make sure there was no projectiles in the gun or there was no blanks. There was nothing in them. They're clean, and homeboy failed to do his job.
Right. So that was his fault on the side of The Crow, but
Different errors as well.
You think so? Because like
Cancel culture. I guarantee they just wanted to find a way to latch onto this story and try to get somebody fired.
I felt so bad for Alec Baldwin because like it's not his job to make sure the gun is a prop.
Well, whenever they
you know what
use,
I mean?
even when they use prop guns, like I'm putting that in quotations, those are still real guns that they're
Right.
using. They're just using a blank.
Well,
So
like-
whenever they get handed a real gun, that's a real gun they're holding.
so it depends.
I just don't see why Alec Baldwin faced all those charges and had his life pretty much on the line about going to prison. Like, do you guys understand that?
No, I get it.
Yes and no, because don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm a person who is on the side of firearms. I like firearms. I have multiple firearms. If someone has handed me a firearm, I don't just like pull the trigger first thing. I will check it before anything else happens. I understand it's a movie. I understand someone else was paid, but that someone else is not me, someone else. That
Right.
someone else
You think Alec
isn't
Baldwin
me.
Yeah, but he's not gonna check. He's been on hundreds of movie sets before.
Right, but at the
he has
same
other-
time,
has
he
other
should
people
have.
that- he has other people that's their job to do that.
But at the same time, that's part of his job because he knows he's supposed to handle a firearm. I mean, I've got a firearm less than 3 feet from me right this second, literally. But
I don't believe you.
But at the same time, there's no excuse for it, really. I mean, there's no excuse for it back in the day, and there's no excuse for it now.
Well, the person that was blamed should have been the prop manager, or the person that had the final handle. In my opinion, because that's what they went with before, was that the guy didn't check the gun correctly, and they were just practicing, and it was just a dummy round that hit him.
Yeah,
like it seriously was just a blank that went off that had more firepower than it should have, and it lodged in his chest, and he bled out basically.
So, Jay, you talked about how you saw this opening weekend, and the concept of opening weekend, The Crow, was this a comic strip before, or was this just it was?
It was a comic book by James O'Hara, if I'm not mistaken, and I have read it. It has been a minute since I've read it. The way that the Crow talks in the movie, with the very poignant talks, like he's. You know what I mean by he's telling poems and shit like that. That is very much from the book. The whole revenge angle of the guy, Rockstar coming back. That's all the comic book. The comic book was released in 4 or 5 separate issues, and the first appearance of the Crow is in another book. It's not even in the Crow. He had like a short story done first, kind of preview the Crow. It was in Caliber Comics number 2 or 4, some shit like that. And they showed a preview story. Basically, it was just a preview of, yes, there we go, James O'Barr. They had a preview of that story in that Caliber comic, so that would have been technically his first appearance. But the story that was told, the movie, was later produced in The Crow 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, something like that.
Oh, yeah, they did. I saw. I don't know if it's Crow 2 or 3, but Edward Furlong plays the Crow.
Well, I'm saying the comic book issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they had like a 5-issue run, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6, something like that. But it when it was finished, it encapsulated the entire graphic novel that is known as The Crow. He has since done other sequels and other different people that has became the Crow, but this is the most well-known version of that Crow character.
Man, I love the way it starts off with just the name Brandon Lee, and then the Crow, and then it shows the city and just the first few scenes of the murder, and starting off with just, it feels like an old school like noir novel. Like it just,
in a way, it does, and it also has a lot of information at the beginning of the film about Devil's Night. Because if you're not a resident of Detroit, you're probably sitting there in the audience like, "What the fuck is Devil's Night?" And they establish what Devil's Night is, why it happens, why all this stuff goes on. And from being a kid, at that time frame, that shit did happen. So I went back later on and looked, did Devil's Night really fucking happen? Because I wanted to know as a person. And yes, it fucking happened. Detroit was known for Devil's Night.
Honestly, when I found out about that was off of from Eminem and D12. Funny enough on that, because they talked a lot about that.
Because what's that the name of their album?
The first album of D12 was named Devil's Night. Yep. And the song, for that matter, was named Devil's Night too. So
I wanted to go back and find out what the fuck, I didn't have the internet back then, but I had ways of looking shit up, and sure enough, Devil's Night was fucking real. I was like, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I've seen how Detroit has progressed over the years. Now it's not so surprising.
And you were speaking about how the Crow talks in like rhymes or rhythm or almost just like poetry. And it's like, man, just rewatching it today feels so. I just kept thinking of what's his name? I kept thinking of Heath Ledger's Joker. I was like, man, there's got to be some kind of influence.
The way the Joker looks in The Dark Knight, dude, it's just a green-haired version of the Crow in a way. The mouth, the way he talks. I don't know, man. I've always had that feeling as well.
Yeah.
Well, you go to another that all three of us are into. The Crow offers a lot of inspiration for Sting. You know, that he needed a revamp to his career, and
if I'm not mistaken, it was Raven. It was Raven or Scott Hall, one of those two wrestlers that sat there and told Sting that he needed to change his gimmick and become the Crow Sting. And Sting, seeing the movie, was like, all right, I got you. I know what the fuck you're talking about. Hell yeah.
I think it was Raven. I think. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was Raven. But, yeah. It's crazy how this movie has had a ton of influence in different culture areas, for that matter.
Well, I'll sit there and say this: in my era, it pronounced, this is what goth people wear and what they look like. Basically, I'm not even bullshitting. It had that whole, like, this is the, and I started dressing black after seeing this movie. I started painting my fingernails. I dyed my hair jet black, even though I had dark hair to begin with. It made no sense. I started smoking cigarettes.
So being 12, probably going to middle school or getting ready to go to middle school after this movie came out the summer after, how popular was this movie around you when it came out?
Just because people know that because Brandon Lee, for one, that was a big topic that was brought up a lot. His passing of the movie, and just the movie itself was. A lot of people looked at it. It was a fucking great movie. They had Cisco Liebert, if I'm not mistaken, they gave it 2 thumbs up. Yeah. You might have to verify that for me, but I think they gave it 2 thumbs up because they said the atmosphere and the look of the film, the story, everything just fucking clicked.
Isn't it? How insane was it? The whole Brandon Lee's passing. Was it you? Like you said, you saw what movie was it before that he did?
Rapid Fire.
Was it as big? Was Rapid Fire as big because of Brandon Lee?
No, Rapid Fire was basically his action film. Party? Not really. The Crow was his coming out party. Basically, basically what Rapid Fire was to Brandon Lee. If I could be wrong, but it was just that action movie to show that he could act. That here's Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son. In a film, he could do martial arts too. But he never had that persona of what Bruce Lee did of being a badass martial artist. It was just that this is Bruce Lee's son. He can act. He can fight. What do you guys think, basically? And so and then the Crow was going to be his, like I said, coming out party. Kind of like with Heath Ledger. You had Heath Ledger come out with the Joker, even though he'd done like a few roles before that where he was great in them. Yeah. But he is, no matter what, Heath Ledger is known for being the Joker now. And Brandon Lee is known for being the Crow now. So they both earned their legacies on roles that they passed away on.
Isn't it so just unsettling, too, that the way Bruce Lee died in almost the same exact matter?
Have you ever seen the movie Dragon, the Bruce Lee story?
Yeah.
That's excellent film.
Yeah. I always thought it's just...
Because that movie talks about the Lee curse and shit like that.
Yeah. almost too. It was just too eerie for me to watch and finish. But I need to finish it one day.
What, Dragon?
Yeah. Let's dig back into like the movie. We talked about how popular it was, the concept. What
The
you guys think of
album?
the album? What you guys think of like some of the goons that were in the movie? Um, there's not really to me a lot of weak points in the movie, but I know like I'm not gonna sit here and nitpick it because of like their acting skills or anything like that. The goons are what they were. I mean, they were in there to get in, get out. It was almost like a I spit on your grave kind of scenario.
But they
If you
had
guys,
a personality to them, though.
yeah, if you guys have seen that, she gets killed, murdered, raped. She comes back and haunts down everybody. Who's the guy who played the main villain, the long-haired guy? He reminded me so much of what was his name? Is it Christopher Lambert when he played the long-haired on Mortal Kombat? Jay, you know what I'm talking about?
Raiden.
When he
This happened
played
after. This happened after before this movie came out before, but yeah.
He kind of reminded me of Christopher Lambert.
Anytime I seen this dude in a movie after I seen The Crow, I was like, that motherfucker's the bad guy.
And
like straight up.
I like how this movie's rated R, but we've seen so much grittier, hard R stuff nowadays that to me, when I watched this today, it felt like a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, there's not very many cuss words in it.
Mm-mm.
Well, I think fucks said quite a bit near the end, but I think there's a rape pretty much gave it the R.
Oh yeah, just the word rape probably.
It's very probable because remember they do sit there in flashbacks show her being, raped. They show like Fun Boy on top of her.
Yeah.
And they show the one guy with the knife sitting there threatening her, and then he does what he does. So yeah, it's pretty graphic. If you sit there and really think about it, it's kind of graphic.
We haven't talked about him much. I don't think we've talked about him at all, but I know we'll talk about him when we review Frozen Empire. What do you guys think of Ernie Hudson in this? I thought Ernie Hudson was the perfect not undercover, but I thought he was the perfect like cop detective in this, and it kind of made me like wonder, like, man, besides Ghostbusters, what else happened to Ernie Hudson back in the day?
Well, he done this, and he done that show Oz, where he played a prison warden.
Oh, that's right, he was in Oz. Yeah.
If you've never seen that show, viewers, check it out. That show is fucking brutal.
I forgot all about him in Oz.
Yeah, he was on. There was like 6 seasons. He was in 5.5 of them.
But I was like, man, I really enjoyed Ernie Hudson this time around.
When I seen the movie, I was like, holy shit, fucking the Ghostbuster guy, cool. It's like he's still getting work. Awesome.
Dude, Tony Todd in this too? I was
like, man. He played the security guard for the main villain.
Yeah, I was like, man, why not he play the main villain?
Whenever they smoke that chick's eyeballs, I'm like, okay, that's fucking weird.
Oh, yeah. And, okay, let me ask somebody this. The main guy, which his name is Top Dollar.
Okay.
Was he and Micah, the Asian chick, they were talking like they're brothers?
They were brothers. No, they are brother and sister.
But they had a threesome right before.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Man.
Before Game of Thrones, there was a Crow, bro.
Man.
Or Game of Thrones, there was the Crow. God.
There you go.
That's insane.
You know what scene also kind of made me like a little unsettling was when he goes in. Is it Fun Boy? The one where he yells Jesus Christ?
Yes.
And he takes the mom and he makes the morphine come out of her arm. That was a little unsettling for a little bit. I keep forgetting that scene is to me that's a little graphic. And he's like, morphine is not good for you.
Go home and be a mother.
Yeah.
It's one of those that scene right there, like I said that earlier, that was the scene right there that they were rehearsing when Brandon Lee got shot. So whenever you're sitting there seeing some of that stuff, not even him, bro. If I'm not mistaken, it's not even him because they did the scene over, so then they just used his face every now and then. They had to use a digital face replacement every now and then with him. They'd have a stand-in that was about his size and his body size and shit like that. It was just Photoshop his face over their face.
Man,
It's crazy on that.
Because they lost him. If I'm not mistaken, they were about halfway through the movie when they lost him. So they still had quite a bit to fill.
Yeah, I think we've kind of talked about most of, if not everything else. Unless you guys talk about some of the death scenes of the goons. The goons kind of dying off. Ed, if you want to, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
So
I thought how the one bad guy that when they strapped him to his fucking car,
Yeah.
he sets that explosive between his legs. I was like, going out the way you can. You know what I mean? He pretty much sent them off in the ways that they represented in the movie. You know, the knife guy went out by the knives.
Yep.
Fun boy went out by his drugs. That crackhead just fell into a damn car and got killed. You know, he fell out the window and got smashed by a car.
He's the one who threw Brandon Lee out, right? Or he threw.
I've never put that together, but most likely, yeah, he's the one that helped. And then the other guy's the one that's always lighting the fuse for explosives and shit like that. So whenever he goes, he gets shit blown in.
And I like what'd you guys think about to me, the little girl was kind of I don't really have
I didn't mind Sarah because Sarah was a vehicle for the audience.
Yeah.
To ask questions with. She was that questions asker avatar.
Because you're kind of seeing the movie through her eyes, right?
And yeah, Sarah's the main character basically.
Yeah.
Because the movie starts on her and ends with her.
I thought she was cool. I liked her. I thought she was a good character.
Now the actress they got to play in the sequel is hot as shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Sarah's the only holdover from the Crow 1 that's in the Crow 2.
So they have the Crow City of Angels,
and that's part 2.
The Crow Salvation, and then the Crow Wicked Prayer, which is that's one that
I haven't seen that one.
That's the one Edward Furlong is in.
I have not.
Kristen Dunst is in the third one.
I've seen the third one. I've seen the first 3.
And then Vincent Perez
is the Crow in the second one.
Is the Crow in the second one. Oh, Thomas Jane is in the second one as well.
Yeah, he plays a guy that's one of the goons.
All right, I got to ask before we get out of here, and before we talk about favorite scenes and star rating. The Crow, requel, sequel, reboot, whatever you want to call it, comes out in several weeks. What do you guys think, man? You think this movie is just undoable? You think it's going to be any good? And what do you guys think about Bill Skarsgård playing Eric?
I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to have a lot of weight because of, what happened. It's 30 years later.
It comes out August 23rd.
You've got a lot riding on that film. People are going to criticize the hell out of it. I have high hopes. I think Bill Skarsgård is going to kill it. I think he's going to do a great job. Yeah, I mean, Bill Skarsgård has become one of my favorite actors in Hollywood at the moment. So for a few years now. So I mean, I don't mind that they changed the look up as much as they have. Because like with Vincent Perez compared to Brandon Lee, there wasn't really much of a change at all. There really wasn't.
Long-haired guy, skinny guy,
almost the same kind of face too.
Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't look far from Brandon Lee, other than just not. They weren't each other. That's the biggest part. But this one is quite a bit different of a look. So
Well, it's because they shortened the
see.
hair on this one.
Shorten the hair, less makeup.
He's more leaner.
It looks like, well, yeah,
And he's not wearing a shirt. Is he in this? I can't remember if because I remember seeing his abs a lot in the trailer.
I was about to say some of the screenshots and stuff like that I've seen. He's not usually wearing a shirt. It's more of just like a jacket, like a overcoat jacket.
He looks like Edge when he came out during his AEW Steel Cage match.
See, I don't know if you guys have seen Boy Kills World, but I enjoyed him in that movie, and it has the same premise that The Crow kind of does. It's a vengeance for hire kind of thing. But he's an assassin going after people, and it's basically another version of John Wick, basically. But it's called Boy Kills World. That's one that you guys can check out.
So I'm going to give my thoughts on this real quick. I'm not going to shame the movie, and I'm not going to shame anybody who signed up for The Crow. But I think The Crow should be one of those projects in Hollywood, like The Godfather, and maybe some other films. There's other
Back to the
films out
Future.
there. Back to the Future, The Wizard of Oz. I think The Crow should be one of those Hollywood projects that just should not be touched again.
I'm okay with it because they made 3 shitty sequels right after they came out with this one.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm okay with them.
And I just think that that's one project that doesn't need to be touched again. We have the 94 version that put a very good image in our head. Forget the sequels. This is to me the 2024 Crow is just a cash grab. It's not about a requel or resurrecting a franchise or paying tribute to anybody. It's just a cash grab.
That's very probable.
So
yeah,
we'll have to wait until it comes out in August.
Yeah, we're about.
I will see it.
Yeah.
I will see it just to say I've seen it.
Same here. Man, do we have any favorite scenes that we want to name off?
I have a lot of scenes, but I'm not going to discuss them. We've already discussed a lot of them.
Of the 1994 Crow, we can maybe name one or two. Instead of naming a few, let's just name the favorite scene. Ed, we'll start with you.
Honestly, I liked a lot of the interaction between Brandon Lee and Rochelle Davis, or I think I got her name right. Basically Sarah and the Crow. I liked a lot of that interaction. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and say when Rochelle Davis. When she's sitting up in room, attic, whatever you want to call it, with the circle window looking out and all that stuff. I thought one of the better scenes was him going up to her and just talking to her. I know it's a very simple, very really, but yeah, really, I personally found it awesome. I personally found that to be a cool break from all the action and stuff that was going on.
When she was laying on the grave?
There is that as well. But just when she's in the room and he comes up on her and just is talking to her, I liked a lot of their interaction. Yeah, and that's one of the significant lines in this movie. It's a song, in this movie and all that. I just like the interactions between them.
If I had to pick one, I'll pick a few. I'll pick the scene where he lights up the Crow.
With the flammable liquid.
The flaming Crow for the first time. I think that's a phenomenal scene. It's just like that's the scene. I could always remember when that movie was like coming on local TV, and they would play they would show that image, and they'd be like, "The Crow next on Fox 25."
Oh yeah, that was a very, very much used promo clip for that movie.
I thought the movie ending in the church was justice, and I like how all these years later thinking about it, it's just really poetic justice. I also have to point this out. I really enjoyed. A lot of people may not maybe put two and two together or even think about it, but I honestly really enjoy how. And Jay, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or if maybe I'm just, maybe I didn't get any vibes from this, or if anybody else did. But I got a really biblical side of things with this movie.
A little bit. I could see where you
Like
can get those from.
like
But like I said, the way he talks in the comic is very poetically.
yeah,
He talks with a very poetic verbiage.
and I mean, I would have liked to have a little bit more Eric Draven story before the movie, but I'm glad that this movie is only like an hour and 45 minutes and not 220 or something like that. But I really did get a lot of like biblical feels from this story and from the character, the crow. Um, and then you know what? The scene where he's just laying on at the end of the movie when everything's done and Eric is laying on Shelley's grave and he's had enough, man. It's time to go. And Shelley just pops up and rubs his face and she's like, you know, your unfinished business is over. It's time to go. And that just that's the poetic justice for me. It's like, man, that's even though it's a dark film, it's got a very light, happy ending for me.
And that's the only thing you could ask for in a movie like this. It's basically we've all seen the revenge film, but it's
Yeah.
how they've done the revenge film, and this was a very fresh take on the revenge film.
Yeah. So those are a few of my favorite scenes. Jay, do you have one? I know you said you had many.
One of my biggest favorite ones that we've talked about quite a bit during the show, so I don't want to elaborate too much more on it. But it's the scene where him and Funboy interact. That whole scene. And that's where you're probably getting the Christ overtones and everything else from.
Yeah.
It's because that scene is because he sat there and basically gets shot in the hand, and whatever you interpret being shot in the hand or just holding someone's hand as,
Yep.
the crucifixion. So I think that's where it came from a little bit.
But yeah, man, that's also another good scene. The pawn shop scene, really good.
I
Good
like when
stuff,
he dumps
man.
all the rings in the shotgun.
Yeah. Really fun conversation. I'm glad we picked this one up and talked about it. This is now the second movie that we've picked up and had a part 2 conversation about. The other one was Psycho. We've had 2 full episodes on Psycho and now 2 full episodes on The Crow. So 2 movies that definitely deserve it. All right, guys. Star rating for this 30-year-old classic. I'll go first. Man, I think I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. Went through, flowed easy. Small nitpicks, like I said, here and there, but honestly, it was a really enjoyable watch. Jay, what about you?
Can you hear me?
Yep. What about you? Star rating?
I'm gonna go 4.5 as well.
Okay.
Like I said, it was a movie that hit me at a certain time in my life. Like I said, I was 12 years old when it came out, and when you're a 12-year-old, shit that hits you pretty deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ed?
In a way, kind of similar age when I found it, for that matter. Like I said earlier, a lot of the music in this is kind of in my area now. The tones of the movie were amazing. I don't find many faults with it. I really don't. The biggest fault is that Brandon Lee passed. That's the biggest fault of this movie is the Brandon Lee incident. 4.5 as well, man. I mean, yeah.
All right. Like I said, busy week here. If you guys want to keep up with us, tomorrow is Friday the 14th podcast. We're reviewing Be My Cat, a film for Annie. It is on Tubi. It is a Tubi exclusive. If you guys want to check it out, watch along, and we'll review it tomorrow, 8 p.m., Friday the 14th podcast. Thursday, 7:30 p.m., we're reviewing Unforgiven 2005. Me and Jay will talk about that WWE pay-per-view extravaganza that took place right here in Oklahoma City. Next Tuesday, we'll be talking the sequel that is long overdue. Twisters is in theaters starting this week. So we're reviewing that next Tuesday, July 23rd. Go check it out in theaters and then watch us on Tuesday as we review Twisters. And then, man, the final episode of July 30th, we're talking Deadpool Wolverine. It'll be the third Deadpool film in the franchise. Should be fun and exciting. What a way to end July. And then I don't have the poster up for it yet, but the first episode of August, we will discuss Civil War. So, man, other than that, man, fun ending to July. Are you excited for Twisters next week?
I am. I, along with my wife, am very excited, man.
Good, man. I'm excited too. Can't wait. Twisters next week. Any final thoughts or final pieces before we put the final nail in the coffin of The Crow?
Man, not too much. Just check it out if you've never checked it out. It's a great movie. It's not just my life is. It's not like that. It's got a lot of darkness to it. It really does. But at the same time, it's just simply a great movie. All three of us can agree with that. Can't rain for all. It can't always rain.
Check it out. Rain's coming near. Speaking of rain, next week we talk about Twisters. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of The Crow. Join us next week as we discuss and we go back to the theater and talk Twisters on a whole brand new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Hook 'em!